Hey everybody, it's been a while since I've made a video, and I thought it would be cool to do a video on the most painful places to get a tattoo. Because I've noticed a lot of people have a lot of fear around getting a tattoo. First of all, there's nothing to be scared of. It's really about communication with your artist, and as long as you communicate like, okay, this is really hurting, I need a break, or let's break it up into more sessions, they're there to do a good job for you, and it's just really good to have that dialogue. So that being said, let's go over I'll go over where I have tattoos. I'll give you a little background about why I got them. And I'll talk about the spots on those tattoos that were least painful to most painful. So I'll go over the whole kind of process. So just off the bat, starting off, the least painful place that I've gotten a tattoo is my arms. Okay, and that means the entire arm. There's no part of my arm that hurt more than other parts of my body. So anywhere on the arm, I would say is less painful than almost anywhere else on the body. Okay, so I'll take off my shirt and I'll show you kind of the tattoos. And I have more down here on my stomach. I'll go over those later. I have on my back also. So the least painful spot of your arm. So this tattoo is really important to me, just to give you a background of it. This whole thing, I got this after my dog died. I rescued a really sweet pit bull, and he was my best friend for 10 years, and he got cancer, and sadly he died. So that's me and him right there, and I dedicated my arm to him. And that's what that one's about. I did it all in one sitting. So that was a 9.5 hour day, which is a long time to get tattooed. Now, I would not argue, especially if it's your first tattoo, doing more than 3 to 4 hours. It's mentally just kind of tough to sit there and feel any kind of pain for that long. If you're up for it, go for it. Again, it's just about communication with your artist. Now, let's just talk within the arm where it's painful. This from least to worst. The forearm and meaty part, like the bicep, and this part of the shoulder, so kind of everywhere where there's a lot of flesh or thicker skin, not bad at all. Here, not bad. Here, not bad. Here, not bad. And here, not bad. So where is it tough on the arm? The parts of the arm that get a little tough are right in here, kind of where you get a needle if you go to the doctor, and also over here where the skin thins out. Okay, so like those areas do get a little tough where it's a little bonier or a little thinner. Also, the elbow can get pretty tough. I have a scar on this tattoo, which pisses me off, but it is what it is. So the elbow's a little tough. You will feel pain kind of as they're grinding into the elbow. You will feel pain over here, and you'll probably feel more pain over here too. Sorry, I just ate a ton of peanuts for some reason. I got honey roasted peanuts. So that is the safest place if you have a really low pain tolerance. Like if someone came to me and said, I have a really low pain tolerance, but I really want a big tattoo or a cool tattoo, where should I get it? I'd say trust that your arm is probably the place you're gonna tolerate it the most. If you just went straight to like right in the middle of your chest, you might be shaking. You're gonna get a crappier tattoo. You might not make it through the whole tattoo. You'll be miserable the whole time. Just probably not a good idea until you know you can tolerate it. So if you know you have a low pain tolerance, definitely consider these areas. It's so much easier. Even the inside here you would think is painful. Not at all. Okay? Moving from there. So like if the arms are the easiest spot, moving on from there, the next easiest spot for me, and this is interesting, because most people would think this is a painful spot, just shook my whole desk, is my back. Okay, so that's my back tattoo. Again, I did that all in one sitting, and I think that was probably, sorry, I went out of focus. There we go. And that was probably 4.5 hours. I did that a long time ago. I did that in New York. I lived in New York. And yeah, it gets really painful right on the spine. There were parts on the spine. And this is something weird that happens with tattoos. It kind of hits nerves that you feel in like your face or your mouth. So like right over, let me not hit the table again. But right over here, definitely kind of caused like a weird feeling over the shoulders and around. But it was never to the point where I would consider it unbearable. Or overwhelmingly painful, or like mentally messes me up to the point where I was shaking. So second spot I would get, and that's a nice big canvas. So if someone came to me and they said, I want to get a tattoo on my back, how bad is it? It's definitely not bad, again, where there's meatier parts. Kind of on the spine itself, it can feel a bit weird. But outside of that, let's say if this is a 1 on 10, which it really is, compared to like the worst parts, this is a 1. This is mostly a 3, and right on the spine is a 5. Okay, so that would be the second best place I've been tattooed in terms of pain, in terms of not being painful. The third is right on my, I don't know if you can see down here, wait, right there, I have writing right on my hips. Okay, so writing on my hips, that was a little bit more painful because it's a very thin area skin-wise. I just have something for my family written there in Latin. And so they're both about that big. Total time was about 3 hours. Really not a big deal. Had it been a longer tattoo, that lower stomach area, especially like as you come up to like right here and you come down, sorry, I don't know if you could see, does get a bit painful. I would say it never gets more than a 5 either though. So like if this is the worst was a 5, here it's like a 5, 5.5, maybe 6. Just because the skin is thin. So again, I would not say that that's like an area that you have to freak out over. Now let's look at areas that start getting a little rough. So the chest. Okay, now people warned me about this. They're like, man, your chest is going to suck. You're going to do it in like long sittings. This was a big piece. All in all, this was 3 sessions. 2 of them were very long. They were about 6-hour sessions, and then we just finished it up. It's like kind of a lot of surface area to cover. Right? I designed this myself, and then I had the artist do it. And it's interesting because I was so nervous going in. I was like, oh shit, this is going to suck. Really, it was not as bad as I thought. All again, maybe this is just me, but the meaty parts, like here, did not hurt at all. I almost fell asleep at one point. Where it really, really hurt went up to what I would consider an 8.5, and I would imagine that some people wouldn't want to tolerate it, is right on the sternum, and this triangle right here sucked. Like there were times where this area I was like, oh shit, this is not good. The other areas that it sucked are as you came around to the edges. Again, like here, all this stuff here, it's hard to do looking at the camera, but like these areas, these outer areas, prepare for pain. Prepare for pain. Definitely does not feel good. But again, the middle, I would say the middle is about a solid 4 or 5 the whole time. We're talking about like an 8 over here, 8.5, and about a 7 on the edges, 7.5. So leading up, again, it's like 1, 3, 5, 7, 8 in some parts. Now the worst for me, personally, and I was shaking at some points during this, and I don't know if it's just that I have sensitive ribs, was my rib cage. I have both ribs done, okay? But that's a quote about forgiveness. It says to forgive is to set a prisoner free and to realize that the prisoner was you. It's just about forgiving for yourself. It kind of frees you from having to hold on to that hate. Anyway, that's not even an especially long tattoo. That was a 4.5 hour tattoo. Like I said, these were each 6 hours in 3 sessions. And like I even did it as the skin was healing. I was like back in there continuing. Man, my rib, I was just trembling. I don't know what was up with me that day. But it just, the whole area consistently hurt, like right on the ribs and the bones. There's no area where I felt relief. And as it came down, like to that lower stomach part, there was a ton of pain down there. So that is definitely the toughest place. And if you're going to go do your ribs, I would definitely not do more than a 3-hour session personally, 3 to 4 hour session max. I couldn't handle more than like 4.5. Maybe it went on for 5 hours. It's like covers a big surface area. This one was definitely only a couple hours. But man, so ribs is definitely 100%, put my shirt back on, 100% the worst spot of all. And here's some really good tips for aftercare. I think this is super important because this kind of changes, and I've experimented with aftercare. Like I put Vaseline, I put like creams, and they all have their own way of doing things. The thing that's worked for me the best is this new trend of, what is it called? Second skin, derma skin. There's different ones, but they're essentially like a saran wrap almost that goes on your skin and wraps super tight. And I leave that on longer than they say you should. I don't expose my tattoo to much water initially, and I leave it on for about 4 to 5 days before I take it off. And it seems like all the plasma and stuff that normally happens on a tattoo and that deep scabbing and bleeding doesn't happen when I do that. So nothing, excuse me, has come remotely close to using that dermaskin, second skin. Any tattoo artist will know what it is. You just tell them like that saran wrap stuff. That's like they put it on and then take it off, and it's like it's part of your skin. They use it on burn victims now. It's the exact same thing, and it really protects the skin. It does more than just cover it up. Like a lot of them are like, oh, it just covers it up. I'm like, no, it definitely does more, because like the plasma and everything seems to just be absorbed by it and not be produced at its high amount. And I just didn't scab. These tattoos I used on one side, I kept it on for 4 or 5 days. On the other side, I just took it off after a day just to see. It scabbed significantly more when I took it off right away. It was so much more painful, the recovery, and took so much longer. It took a solid like 10 days to 2 weeks to be fully healed. Here, by the time I took it off, 5 days in, pretty much healed. I never scabbed after that. I never had any kind of irritation, no bumpiness, no dryness. So I highly, 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 highly recommend keeping it on for even longer than they say. It just kind of protects it and keeps it from scabbing up and just getting weird. So yeah, if you're going to get a tattoo, that's my experience. And I hope it helps.